welcome to the Anonymous Andrew Podcast. Life and the choices we make, the choices other people make. This podcast explores all things as they relate to dating and romantic relationships. Why we ignore, or choose to ignore, or miss the red flags. Red flags like gaslighting, cheating, lying, narcissistic behavior, deception, and so much more. Join me each week as we continue my journey into the modern dating world with my weekend rants, anonymous guest dating stories, and experts who share their wisdom so we can better navigate the dating terrain. If you are new to the show or have been with me from the beginning, hold on tight for the Anonymous Andrew experience. Greetings, Anonymous Andrew, with a quick announcement before we get into the weekend rant. So, if you are a follower of mine on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok, and you notice the promos that I have announcing episodes, they are not done by me. I have somebody named Lindsay who does all of my graphics for me, all my social media promotions. She is a wonderful creator, and I don't want to get too personal, but she's looking for more work, and she contacted me, and so I pay her. She gets paid to do the promotional work, and she again, I don't want to get into details, but she's looking for more work. So if you have any projects that you need somebody who knows what they're doing on social media, please contact me and I'll put you in touch with her. I would really appreciate if just go look at some of my promos. If you like the work you see there, we're not talking about the stuff I do. When I do videos, that's me. But there's graphics up there introducing my next episode. Like this next couple days, I'm going to have her work on, even including the cover art for the podcast. You'll see some of the cover art is all done by her, and she needs some financial help. So I'm looking to get her name out there, and if anybody who needs a graphic artist, please contact me. Now on to the show. Greetings, Anonymous Andrew Podcast, life and the choices we make. Okay, so today we're going to do something a little different. This will be a weekend rant, which a lot of you like when I come on here and rant. But we're going to do what they call a quickie. Okay. That seems to be making the rounds in the podcast world, is podcasters are now popping on and doing quickies. And for whatever purpose they're doing them, maybe just to get a topic out there, but doesn't require a full episode, like 45 minutes to an hour. Sometimes it's just a thought, or they want to... I'm not sure. I don't know why, but I'm hearing it everywhere. And I was thinking to myself, I am backed up on recordings. I have so many recordings, and there is not so much like time to put them out, but they just keep coming in, and I'm getting backed up. But the weekend rant is something that I started sometime last year, and it has gotten great feedback, and it's my way of talking to my audience. And, you know, when I have a guest on, it's me and the guest, and we're talking about their expertise, and you know, so you guys don't get a chance to hear what's in my head. I may chime in at time to time with the guest, but the weekend rants is where I check in with you and let you know what's going on. especially when it comes to the dating world, right? Because that's essentially what this podcast has become, is my journey into the dating world post this horrible breakup I had. And it's, gosh, now got to be 16 to 18 months ago since the breakup. And I am well into, like, it's not even a thought anymore. I have to keep it a thought alive because it's the premise of this podcast, but I'm trying to keep it. What I found to be an issue is the more I try to get away from that relationship and move forward, the more it comes up. Because I'll have a conversation with a guest, and the guest will, let's say, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, I might have had somebody on who talked about cheating or something. And of course, it's going to come up because that's all what my last relationship was about. So I try to get away from it, but I get like sucked back into the vortex. And that makes it difficult moving forward, and especially when, which is what happened to one woman who I was dating. She heard the podcast and she heard me talking about the ex. And in her mind, she's saying, oh, well, he's still talking about the ex. So I'm even one woman even said to me, I heard your podcast. It sounds like you still have a torch for your ex. No, but it's the premise of this. It's what spawned this podcast, was that breakup. And now that it's 18 months later and I'm well into season 2 and I'm trying to interview people, experts, and I've even taken a left turn and done a series on cults. We did the Twin Flames Universe cult, which, by the way, I am going to be doing again. So there is another group that I stumbled upon on Facebook, and it's a cult group, and it's a whole slew, over 2,000 people in this group who were somehow at one point in their life involved in a cult. And I'm fascinated by this whole cult concept. I'm old enough to remember back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s where there were these the cults where Heaven's Gate, I think it was called. They all thought they were going on spaceships, and I mean there was some wacky shit going on back then, and people forget that cults are really still going on. And the Twin Flames documentary that was put out on Netflix and Amazon kind of reinforced that they haven't gone anywhere. They're still, forget Scientology and what's the other one? There's another one out there that you hear in the news a lot. They may be a cult, but they're a very well-organized and established organization. And we're talking about these little cults that pop up that not just in the United States, but around the world. So I am, over the next few weeks, going to dive back into the cult world. It just fascinates me how these things get started and how they suck people into this concept, and why and how. I'm not judging anybody by any means, but how they get sucked into them. The Twin Flames, we examined why somebody would join that cult, because they're lonely and they're heartbroken, or they just left a relationship, or they've been single for a long time and they think they can't find any. But there were myriad of reasons, and yada yada yada. But that's a good example of that one. Twin Flames was a good example of why somebody. But some of these other cults, I can't even give you an example right now because I have about 15 in front of me. But they're, like, I just did an interview with a young lady who I'm airing this week. her and her whole family were part of a cult while she was growing up. And she didn't join it on her own free will. It was just her family joined the cult. Of course, they didn't know it was a cult at the time, and they've gotten out since then. But nobody joins a cult thinking, hey, I wake up one morning, I'm going to join a cult. They join some sort of an organization that they think is going to better their lives. So anyway, I just wanted to get that out because you're going to be hearing more cults coming in the next few weeks. This quickie, and I'm really going to make it a quickie. Like, I'm not going to go a whole half hour. There's just a couple of things that I want to get off my chest. One is, and I've mentioned this number of times, and it's gonna keep coming up, is I'm having surgery in May. The end of May, I'm having my right hip replaced, and that really will not affect this podcast or you at all. Nobody will even, other than the fact that I'm going to talk about it, because I'll be home recovering for several weeks, and it'll give me a great chance to work on many episodes and get some work done, and maybe make some changes to the podcast. There's many things I'd like to do and whatever. So, but I bring this up because I just want to mention that the pain that I'm going through right now is excruciating, insufferable. What the right hip, whatever a joint that has osteoarthritis, when it gets down to bone on bone, the excruciating pain that comes with that. It's not just like, oh, you're walking around and you go, oh, I can feel my hip. This is the bone grinding on the bone, which inflames. It's inflammation that is to the power of 10, okay? And then that pain shoots down your leg. Sitting, standing, walking, lying, the pain can be intolerable. Sometimes it goes away, and then when it comes back, there's nothing. So, and I have a couple of problems. There's some medications that I cannot take for the pain. I cannot take any NSAIDs, anti-inflammatories, because I'm on a blood thinner. And I've maxed myself out on Tylenol. All right, you're not supposed to take more than 4,000 milligrams in a 24-hour period. And I've done that way over the limit. Okay, so for the first couple of weeks, I maxed out on Tylenol to the point where my liver might think I'm drinking again. So I can't do that. And that brings me to what's left. Well, the good old-fashioned painkillers. Oxys, Oxycontin, oxycodone, all that good stuff. And getting the orthopedic to prescribe that is challenging because because of what the opioid crisis is happening in the world, or in specifically the United States, they are very, very, very careful about how much they give you and or if they give you any at all. And my surgery is 7 weeks away. And my doctor said to me, I am not giving that to you for 7 weeks because they don't want to get you hooked on it. Because once the surgery is over, yes, I'll be taking some more after the surgery, but then they stop. I've already had my left hip done, all right? So it's about a week or two of pain where you stay on the painkillers, and then you're done. You don't need them anymore. But he's telling me if he puts me on 7 weeks of Oxycontin or Codone, and then another 2 weeks after that, that's almost, so we got close to 2.5, 3 months of me being on this. He's afraid I'm going to get hooked. And that's what so he said no. And I finally got him to send me something, but it wasn't, it's something called tramadol, and it's horrible. It does nothing. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that. If anybody out there knows about pain and pre-surgical pain, and it's just insufferable. And As I sit here right now, the right hip is inflamed. Okay, enough of that. I had something interesting happen today. Okay, so I have spoken to you about many times about how to meet a woman in the real world. Okay, so we know that I've been on dating apps for the past 6 months, give or take, and yes, I've had a couple dates here and there, and you if you're a regular listener, you know the whole story. But I've often, with guests, I have brought up the topic of that I go shopping to the food store every weekend. All right, every Saturday, at precisely noon, because I have a schedule and I do something Saturday mornings, and then I go shopping. And I go to the same grocery store, the same place every week, same time. And we talked about meeting, like I mentioned this, gosh, months and months ago, about how women or some people are still wearing masks, and it's difficult to approach a woman if she's wearing a mask. And if I'm in the, I don't know, produce section and the woman's wearing a mask, I'm not going to approach her if I find her attractive. So, all right, today I went shopping. So today's Saturday, and I went food shopping. And I am pushing my little cart around the store, and I pass by the customer service desk, and oh my God, I see this woman that blew me away. Okay, I looked at her, and she was exactly the type of, now I'm talking physical here now, the physical attributes of the type of woman that I'm attracted to. And I saw her from behind, and then when she turned around for a second, I was even more pleased with the front. So I'm trying to keep it clean here. She met everything about the physical attributes I like in a woman. And Anonymous Andrew froze. She was standing online at the customer service desk. She had something in her hand, and so I don't know if it was a coupon or a receipt or something, but she was waiting to go up and talk to somebody at the counter. And there was a display of something about 10 feet from there, and I stopped my cart there, and I was looking at the display. It was like a can of beans or something, and I was doing what men do sometime. We stare. So I was staring at this woman because my jaw dropped. It's like, oh my God, look how beautiful she is. And she was standing in line, and all of a sudden, something fell off her, like a scarf. Now, I don't know if it was a scarf, but it was a fabric of something, fell from somewhere on her body to the floor. I saw it out of the corner of my eye. And so she's standing there with this thing at her feet, and she didn't know that she lost whatever it was, So my first reaction was, oh, here's a great opportunity to go up to her and say, hey, you dropped this, and that's what I did. So I wheeled up my cart to her, and I said, excuse me, I think you dropped that. And I pointed to the ground, and she looked down, and she bent down to pick it up, and as she got up, she smiled at me, and she seemed to be very happy and thankful. Thank you so much for, like somebody wouldn't expect somebody to do that, which is another whole topic. But if you see somebody drop something and you say something, it's just common courtesy, right? I'd like to think somebody would tell me that I dropped something whatever. That's the point where I didn't know what to do from there. That was the perfect time to then say something. I could have said, oh, that's a lovely scarf, or I could have asked her what she was waiting in line for. But see, this is the point. I didn't have a premeditated thought on how to say something to her. And I lost an opportunity because when she picked up her scarf, said thank you, and she was really thankful because she gave me a really nice smile, and I think she even gave me a once over. She kind of looked up and down at me. But then she turned around again and went back to standing in line. And I slowly rolled my cart away. And my brain couldn't work fast enough. Like, what should I do? Should I turn around and go back and say something to her? I was thinking of what could I possibly approach her with. And the mind was blank. I don't know. This is the strange part of me. Back in the day, I had game. I would have been able to say something to her. Something has changed over the years. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's my sobriety. I don't know if I'm just getting older. I don't know if it's just I don't trust anybody, or I guess you can always go back to just the fear of rejection. I didn't even notice. A lot of times I will look to notice to see if she's got a ring on. I didn't even look to see if she had a ring. Like, that may or may not mean anything today to people, but some people don't wear their wedding rings, or sometimes they do. I didn't even look. So I'm needless to say, I just kept pushing my cart, and there's no happy ending to this story. But the point is I'm coming on here, as always, being open and vulnerable, and just telling you guys that I fucked up big time. Because there was this beautiful woman that, in my experience, you don't come across on a daily, average, day-to-day basis. In my world, I don't. I'm not out and about that much anymore. It's still kind of chilly up here in New York, and I don't get out. Now, once my surgery's over, and it'll be somewhere in July when I'm fully recovered, yes, I'll be back down at the beach, and we'll be having this whole discussion about the beach all over again, like I did last year, and that's a whole different ball game. I'll deal with that then. But right now, it's still chilly, and I'm not out and about. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not playing tennis because of the hip. I'm not riding my bicycle because of the hip. I'm just not socializing, and I'm not going places where I meet people. The supermarket is really my 45 minutes to an hour where I get to basically look at what's out there, going up and down the aisles and checking out women. And I'm being honest with you, that's where I do my hunting grounds. That's my hunting grounds. The problem is this hunter missed his prey today. I fucked up. I really, really, really fucked up. Okay, there's no sense in dragging this on. One more last thing, and I got a rant on this one. I don't know if it's New York or if it's going on everywhere, but I have noticed recently, in the past couple of months, there seems to be road construction going on everywhere. It's going on down the street from me, where they have entire blocks cut off. You got all these big machines that they're digging these big holes. Then I drive half a mile or a mile away, and then there's another where they get 3 lanes into 2 lanes into 1 lane, and they're doing construction. And that's just in my neighborhood. On the way to work in the morning, it has now taken me, on a typical day, it normally takes me 40 minutes to get to work. It is now taking me close to an hour and 15 minutes every morning for the past couple of weeks, because I can say this. If you know New York, I work near JFK Airport, and they're doing major construction by JFK Expressway, the Van Wyck Expressway, the Bell Parkway, the Conduit, all of that area. And then there's Rockaway Boulevard, which is the first exit off the Van Wyck. I work about 2 miles after when you get off the Van Wyck from there. It takes me what used to be about 8 minutes, takes me about 15, 20 minutes to get to from the Van Wyck to where I work. It's everywhere. Yesterday I had to make a stop in Queens someplace on my way home, and I went further into Queens, and on the way home it took me an hour and a half to get home. That should have taken me 50 minutes. So there has got to be something done by the politicians. And you know me, folks, I don't get political. I don't get on a soapbox, and I don't start preaching left, right, in the middle, conservative. I don't even talk about that. That and religion. But there's got to be something done by our politicians, congressmen, assemblymen, House of Reps, people who represent districts in my area. I don't even know who to reach out to, but something has got to be done. They set up shop and they start digging, and it goes on for seems like months, where they just expect you just to live with it. Like you're going to just, all of a sudden you have 4 lanes down to 2 lanes or down to 1 lane, or they just completely say you can't pass down this road anymore. You have to take a detour, and it goes on for months. And of course, all the traffic that's diverted or detoured, it's just, forget about the red lights. Anyway, it's gotten me boiled, and I'm pissed off about it. I'm really pissed off about it. It's not anything new, but it just seems to have doubled or tripled that I've noticed. And what is really pissing me off is that in another month or so, even though I'll be home recovering, that's when the beach is open. And I live in the area where I live is by the beach, and people flock down to that area. And if they don't clear this mess up, because there's construction around where I am, it's going to be a disaster. And it's almost like they planned it this way so they could. All right, I wanted to make this a quickie, and I'm going off on a tangent here, but I'm pissed off about the construction going on in the New York City metropolitan area. It sucks. And it's not like I'm going to get anything done about it, but I just wanted to rant on it, because if I don't fucking say something somewhere to somebody, it's just going to keep chewing me up. So, anyway. All right, folks, that's my quickie. I am going to drop a new episode tomorrow. I got some guests on Tuesday. I have a new guest for tomorrow. And then on Tuesday, I got a cult story for you. This one is a pretty good one. So we're going to jump back into the cults for a while. I'll announce all that on Tuesday. So, Anonymous Andrew, please, if you like this podcast, if you like anything that I'm saying or the direction this podcast is going, please give me a couple of stars down below. There's 5 stars down there. If you click all 5, it makes my podcast go higher. And on Spotify, you can do the same thing. You can leave a review. And if you have somebody that you know that might enjoy this podcast, pass it along. And if you're going to get into a relationship, I urge you, please take some time before you commit. I'm going to make that one a short one, folks. Just don't commit until you see all that you need to see in this person. Anonymous Andrew, thank you for listening to my rant, and we'll talk to you soon. Ciao.